This video is sponsored by overlays.uno. Graphics are all around us these days, on social media, in advertising, entertainment, sports, gaming, TV broadcasts. There's no end to it. Specifically in live environments, the graphics you see on screen usually require an experienced team and expensive equipment to make it all work. But in this age of creators and streamers, those traditional setups don't make sense in a lot of cases. Overlays.uno fills in this gap by offering a huge catalog of pre-made graphics that you can easily customize to fit your brand. There are some non-intrusive ads on the side, which for now can be removed by creating an account, but the Uno team deserves a bunch of coffees for providing us with such tremendous value, so please consider supporting them directly if you end up using this platform. The workflow is simple. You pick a graphic, import it into your account, customize the content to your heart's content, bring the output URL over to your streaming software such as OBS, which by the way is also free and open source, or even use free mobile phone streaming apps such as Live or Streamlabs, which also support URL inputs. And you end up with professional looking live graphics at zero cost. Because Uno is web-based, you're able to control these graphics from anywhere and on any device with internet, including desktops, mobile phones and tablets, even a Stream Deck by using Uno's official plugin, or directly from a custom dock in OBS. If you need a countdown to your live show, lower thirds for talking points in your podcasts, or socials during business events, scoreboards, lineups, and leaderboards for any sport you can think of, chances are you'll find a template for it. Some more advanced graphics even allow for data to be pushed through with Google Sheets or even heart rate monitoring devices. The best thing is that this library will keep growing in the future. At this point, I should mention that overlays.uno is owned by its parent company Singular.LIVE, a team of highly experienced individuals in the field of live broadcasts. They offer custom-made graphics packages for some of the biggest brands by utilizing Singular's composer and scripting, and are now making those same high-quality professional graphics accessible to everyone because Unos are actually built with Singular. So that's why you have a lot of flexibility in terms of customization, but if you wanted to, you could build your own, and to help with that, you can watch our recent deep dive video on Singular. We are currently working on a course that will cover that entire workflow, and it will be available for free on their channel, so stay tuned for that. In the meantime, you can join their Discord server where you can learn more, ask for help, suggest new templates, or just hang out with other people in the same field. But let's now do an in-depth walkthrough of overlays.uno. This is the homepage that will greet you once you open up overlays.uno. You can choose to create a new account, or I will simply log in with my Google account. On the homepage, you have some featured and new and updated overlays, but we can move over to the library where we can find all of the currently available overlays, which are currently 540 of them. And again, this list will keep on growing, and because there are so many of them currently, we can choose to sort them by popular, demand, trending, even use the filters on the left side here. So let's say we're looking for a lower third, and maybe even a scoreboard. Now you have a more focused list of graphics to choose from. But let's clear those filters, and we'll go ahead and create a new folder here under my overlays, and we'll call it tutorial, and let's click on it to open it up. And the reason I'm doing this is because anytime we add new overlays, those will automatically be added to the most recently opened folder, which in this case was the tutorial folder. But let's go ahead and just delete this. And the first time you delete overlays, they will move over to the trash, just in case you made a mistake and you want to restore it, or you can choose to delete them permanently. Now let's go back to the library, and we'll start with a simple lower third. So let's maybe choose this one, hit add to my overlays. Let me just click on this icon, move it to the tutorial folder. We can edit the name as well, and even add it to our favorites, so it will show up under the favorites folder. But now we can double click on it to open it up. And this is the Uno Control App user interface. The UI is completely responsive, so you can click and drag on the viewport here to make it bigger or smaller. If you want to, you can collapse it or even disable it altogether if you want to have as much real estate to work with. And you can even hold Control and scroll wheel to zoom in and out on your browser, and you'll see how this can come in handy with other overlays that might have a bunch of properties available. But let's re-enable the preview window. Underneath the preview window, we have what are called panels, so you can switch between these. Under settings, we can choose to show 1, 2, 3, up to 5 panels, but because we only have 3 in this overlay, that's why it's only showing 3. You can even go to a light theme, but I prefer the dark one. So over on the left side, we have the lower panel. So these correspond to the titles over here. We can turn the overlay off, and that will animate out like that, and then turn it back on. Under the collapsible properties panel, we can choose to delete this and replace it with, let's say this is overlays.uno, and then click outside to confirm it. And you noticed it actually changed the sizing of the text, but we can go ahead, enter to go on a second row, and this is the second row. Now when we confirm, that goes back to being a 2-line. So most of these graphics will automatically adjust depending on what properties you input. Then under the Customize tab, we have some global properties such as the width and height of this graphic. And you can see these are dynamically resizing. We can change the position as well, and even the colors. So let's say I want, I don't know, maybe my brand has orange colors or something like that, maybe blue ones. There's an accent color for this, and you can even change the text color, but the white one is the most legible. Now I'll go ahead and switch to 2 panels and just click on the left side here so we isolate these 2 panels, just so it's less confusing. And we'll go ahead and enable the slots button. Here you can set presets of your graphics. So let's say I want to call this overlays.uno, and if we hit edit, this will contain those same settings. And let's just delete the second row and hit take. We can go back to the list. It's the same as clicking this button over here. But then we can hit these dots and hit duplicate, and we'll call this first and last name, then hit edit. And here I'll type in my first and last name and go back to the list, and then I can hit take on that, and it will only update the title without taking out the entire graphic and then bringing it back in. And you can add as many of these as you want, or you can choose to disable slots altogether. And this graphic also has an image input, so you can put your logo here. You can hover over to see a quick preview. So if we click on this icon, this will open up the images folder in Uno Overlays. You can't directly import from here, but if you come back to the dashboard, we can switch to My Images. You can upload an image. I'll click and drag on a transparent version of my logo. And it might seem a little bit anticlimactic, but it really is that straightforward. You make changes to these properties and off you go. Now, how do we actually use these in our live streams? Well, you can hover over this copy output URL button, click on it, which will copy it to your clipboard. And here in OBS, we can hit on the plus icon, add a browser source, we'll call it Uno, hit OK, and we'll paste in the URL. Make sure we choose the correct dimensions here, hit OK, and we can resize this either manually or right-click, transform, Control F to fit to screen, and there's our graphic. Now, one thing I want to point out is that because these graphics are essentially web pages, the frames per second is unlimited. So it's going to generate as many frames per second as it can. The FPS limitation is defined in your output. So in the case of OBS, if we go over to settings, under video, this is where we would choose the output FPS. And because I'm recording currently at 50 frames per second, you can see that smooth motion when the graphic comes in and out. Also, I wanted to show you a quick little trick. If you simply click and hold down on the copy output URL and drop it directly into OBS, it will create a browser source for you and match the dimensions. So that's a cool little trick. And of course, you can control these graphics directly from the Uno browser tab here. We can take it in and out, change the slots, for example, and so on. Or you could even use the control URL, which I can actually scan because as I hover over it, it shows me a QR code, which I'll go ahead and scan. And as you can see, we have the same controls directly in our phones. So we can turn it off, turn it back on, edit the text, and so on and so forth. And you can even use a tablet. Another way to control these graphics is if you copy the control URL. Back in OBS, we can go over to Docs, Custom Browser Docs, paste in the URL, and we'll call it UNO. And once we hit apply, this browser doc will pop up, which we can drag and dock to the left side, for example. We'll close this panel. And let's say we're happy with the color controls. We can switch over to one panel, go over to the lower panel, and now we can worry about only the title. Maybe we want to turn the graphic on and off, and so on and so forth. And you actually aren't limited to how many devices you can use, and these devices won't conflict with each other. So I can turn the graphic off from my phone, for example, which will also reflect in the custom OBS dock. And the same thing goes with a browser. Now, there is another way of controlling these graphics, and that's by using a Stream Deck. So back in the UNO homepage, at the bottom, you'll see the Stream Deck plugin. And we can scroll down and head over to the Elgato Marketplace and hit open in Stream Deck, and that will install the UNO Overlays plugin. Of course, you need to make sure you have Stream Deck installed as well, and we can start setting this thing up. But before we do, let's head back over to UNO and let's say search for a countdown. I like this one a lot, so let's click on it, hit add to my overlays, and then double click to open it up. To control these graphics through our Stream Deck, we have to copy the UNO token, then select the button back in Stream Deck and paste the token over here and hit enter. That will load up all of the API commands, or what are called actions. So let's say we want a button to toggle the overlay visibility. And now if I click on my Stream Deck, it will toggle that overlay off and then back on. And of course, we can give this a title, so on/off, modify the title display settings. And you can see here I have these UNO icons installed, which you can find back in the Stream Deck plugin UNO page. So just click and download the icon set, and then double click to install that file. But you can see here it says that it's already installed. And those icons will then show up in your icon library. So let's maybe choose the eye icon, and the title gives us a clue as well. And the reason I chose this countdown overlay is because it will allow us to go through some more specific actions. So let's go ahead and Control-C to copy this button, Control-V to paste, and then under the actions here, you see we have some timer actions. So let's say use the play timer action, and we can go ahead and switch the icon to this one, and we'll delete the title. So now in our Stream Deck, when we hit the button, it's as if we've hit the play button in the UNO control app, and that will start the countdown. And of course, you have a bunch of other actions to choose from. So let's say I want to reset the timer and then choose another icon here. This would be for resetting, I guess, and then hit that button. That just resets the countdown. Now, let's say we want to change this going live title. We can use the change customization field, and then we can choose which one we want to change. So in this case, it's called title text. So we're looking for text-title text, and we're going to set that title to countdown. Just so it's clear, we'll choose another icon. So let's use this one, and then hit that button. It will change the title to say countdown. So basically, any properties available in the control app, those can be set via the Stream Deck. And don't forget, you have multi-action support in Stream Decks, so we can click and drag a button over there. Make sure you copy the UNO token and paste it in first. So this would be useful in cases where we want to execute multiple actions with one button. Now, related to multi-actions, I want to look at the UNO commands here. So let's copy-paste this button, and let's call it JSON. And you can see I've switched to the previous graphic we had open. So let's make sure we copy the UNO token and paste it over here, hit the return to confirm. And under the actions list, we have this set overlay content JSON action. And it might seem a bit intimidating, but it really isn't. We can hit Control-A and Control-C to copy and paste it inside of a notepad file. All this is a list of properties and their values. And it's simply using a JSON structure if you're familiar with that. So here's the property. So that would be this logo here. And then this is its value. So it's the image URL. And then we have the title property and its value, which currently is this is overlays.uno. And let's say this is the first preset. We can copy and paste this and say call it v2. Then we'll change the title and the image. And with the second button selected, hit fetch content JSON, and that will give you the updated JSON structure with the correct values. So now when we click on the first JSON button, it updated all of those properties to what we had before. And then with the v2, it updates them back again to what we saved in this second JSON. So that's another way you can set values of multiple properties at once, as opposed to using the multi-action, which I believe sometimes can be a bit slow or laggy. So that's when you would use a JSON action instead. So we have pretty much covered the entire workflow of Uno graphics when it comes to picking one, customizing it, and using it in your live streams while having control over the graphics with multiple devices. But now let's take a look at a few more examples. Back in the Uno dashboard, I've created a new folder called Examples. We'll hit New Overlay, and we'll search for this one called Social Loop Bug 1. Click and add it to my overlays. Then we'll open it up. And this one's pretty cool because it cycles through social media handles. So let's say for my Facebook, I can type in brokenstudio.tv, copy and paste that over here. If we hover over the tooltip, it says to delete the text if we don't want to show it. So let's delete the Discord, and then here I'll update it. And then we can choose a display duration, so how long each of these handles last. So let's say 3 seconds, just so we can preview it a bit faster. We can choose to turn it off, turn it back on. We can modify the position and the size. And if you want to reset these values, you can actually hit R. Of course, you can choose different colors as well, and even use the slots function. So remember, we can call this broken and then have another one for Uno. We can go ahead and edit these to, let's say overlays.uno. So this way we can have a list of pre-made social media accounts, and we can simply choose to take that in depending on what we want to show. Let me just cover this one last input here. So we have a custom URL. So let's say I want to show Singular.LIVE. Now it'll cycle through, and once it reaches the custom input, it will show Singular.LIVE. We can even choose a logo, and there we have it. And don't forget, you can even create folders for your images. So we'll call this broken, and then we'll move these to that folder. And this is just so we can keep things organized. Another cool one is this 2x counter nebula. So we'll add it to my overlays. You can, of course, customize the look and feel of this, but you have these left and right counters. So simply click on this button and it will add 1 kill or 1 win. You can even change the left counter to say wins, and the right counter can say losses. And of course, up here you would say wins and losses. Or you can hide that all together. We'll do a quick customization. I want to hide the background completely. And under the global effect, if we make some room here, I can choose to turn off the drop shadow so there's no glow, and the glass effect as well, and simply copy the output URL, and we can bring it inside of OBS, maybe size it down, put it to the side here. So for any viewers that join during a live stream, they can know right away, oh, this guy's playing this game and currently he has this many wins and this many losses. There's also this very cool one called Webcam border, which you can customize to match the branding colors. So again, I'm gonna go ahead and disable the glass effect. Let's say I want to use this blue color, and maybe I don't want that drop shadow on the title there, and say set the weight to bold instead. Well, now I can copy the output URL and I can bring that to in OBS. We'll call it webcam border. Let's size it down. Maybe I want to put it over here to the side. And then I'll select my camera input, size it down, make sure it fits inside that screen. And then we'll re-enable the wins and losses, and we'll size that down too, and maybe bring it underneath like that. And of course, you can go ahead and customize the colors so that everything matches, but you can see how quickly you can get a stream design package up and running without having to do any manual design work. Here we have a couple of scoreboards open for football and basketball, so we can add one, subtract, we can start the time, choose first, second half, enable the extra time if we want to. And of course, you can customize the look of this whole thing. And same goes with the basketball one. You get the idea. And you'll see if you go under more, we can choose to show or not show the sponsor, event info, show shot clock, show the game clock, and the graphic will dynamically adjust based on what you want to show or not. There are also some very cool graphics packages which you can filter under type. For example, this Pyrite one, which looks like CNN kind of. Here, of course, we have controls over each one, but the good thing is that we have a lower third, we have a talking points graphic, we have a ticker, and all of those separate graphics are available inside of one control app, which is very convenient. But what about in this case where we have graphics that are using the same design, which is called Fresh, and I've imported them into a football package folder, but they are all in separate UNO control apps? Well, in this case, you would go in, customize each of these individually, then we can copy each one's output URL and then bring them inside of OBS as separate browser sources. And I've gone ahead and imported custom docs with the control URLs of those graphics. And this is how you would go about having a stream package of graphics that are not inside of the same control app. And now the last few examples we'll take a look at actually support data sources such as Google Sheets, which you can filter under the data source category here. So let's say we'll pick this player lower third. Once we open it up, we'll be prompted to head over to the setup panel and click on connect to Google Sheet, which will create a copy of a document and ask us to save it into our account. So let's hit make a copy, and then we can follow these instructions. So first of all, we have to make sure we have the UNO by Singular.LIVE add-on installed. Then we'll bring that panel up. So open the sidebar, and here it says we need to paste the UNO token, which by the way is automatically copied to the clipboard when you hit the connect to Google Sheet button. So we'll just paste it in, and that will also load up the control app UI. And then we can hit this button to define a data range, which here it says, make sure you include header titles as well. So we'll click and drag from that corner to this corner. And now our control app will automatically be populated. So if we go over to the control panel, we can just take the next one. And these options here correspond to these cells. So I can modify them. Let's go broken, singular. And now once we take the second one, it says Singular.LIVE and number 2. I can actually change the number here. It will take a moment to update. I think the Google Sheet sends an update every 5 seconds. Now we can take the third one, and now it says UNO overlays. We can even choose an image here, so we can input an image URL. So back in my images dashboard, I can copy the URL of that image and paste it here. And once we switch to number 2, it'll show the Singular logo. Number 1 will show broken logo. There are multiple graphics that support the weatherapi.com. And here you can choose to show different conditions, maybe switch to Celsius. And let's go over to somewhere where it's a bit more warm, like Russia. So that's minus 14 degrees Celsius. I guess this is average in Russia. Yeah, it's very warm. There are some RSS feed overlays. So let's take this one. So for this ticker, we can set an RSS feed, and I'll let ChatGPT explain what an RSS feed is. Basically, you're getting content from a website or a social media account like YouTube, for example, and everything that's present inside of that account is being fed into this RSS feed. And through that feed, we're then gonna populate the ticker to show, I don't know, the title of new videos that I've released, which I'll show you right now. So there's this website called rss.app. if we go over to YouTube RSS feeds, I can paste in my account's URL, hit generate, and once it's done, I can save it to my feeds, which will then give me this XML URL, and I can paste that on the custom RSS feed property, hit return, and then switch from ABC Top Stories feed to use custom RSS feed, and now you'll see that ticker being populated by the titles of my most recent videos. And again, RSS feeds can come from different kinds of sources. You can create an RSS feed from your website, for example, and automatically show what your new posts are on your website. There's even this cryptocurrency one. So let's say we want to show what the value of Bitcoins is currently. And of course, you can customize the look of this, change the colors and all that. The last data source graphics we'll cover are these Pulsoid ones, which allow us to show our heart rate BPM on stream. Pulsoid is a third-party website that connects to various kinds of devices for heart rate monitoring. You can even use smartwatches. And just to quickly show you how it works, I have an Apple Watch here with me. The first time you open one of these graphics, the source is set to simulator, which will just show you how this would look like. But we have to switch this to Pulsoid API and then hit the Get Pulsoid Token button, which will ask you to authorize the app, but make sure you are logged into your Pulsoid account first. And this will give you the token. Make sure you copy this to the clipboard and paste it here. And you see at the top, it says that the connection has been established. Actually, keep in mind that this graphic up top here is just for information. It won't actually render on the output URL. And once the phone and the watch are connected, you need to install the Pulsoid app both in your phone and in your watch. And once you open it, you simply click connect. And here it says open the Pulsoid app on your Apple Watch to use it. And here it says that it's not connected. I can just click the connect button. And there we have our BPM. And as long as you have internet enabled on your phone, it will then send that BPM data to the Pulsoid dashboard here. And then Pulsoid will send that data over to UNO. And here you'll see how they work together and update in real time. Now, one thing to keep in mind when using these overlays that connect to Pulsoid is that smartwatches can be a bit inaccurate from time to time, and the data rate, I believe, is about 5 seconds. So you'll see updates on your graphic every 5 seconds or so. So if you want to use these in your live streams and you need real-time data coming through, consider using dedicated heart rate monitoring devices, and you can see a list of supported devices on their website. And to close things out, I just want to hit on the point that UNO overlays are built with Singular. So if we enable the header on this UNO control app, you got the Singular logo on the top left of the header. There's some outputs and some other stuff here which might be a bit confusing to you. But let's come over to the Singular dashboard. I'm using the same account for both Singular and UNO, which is very important because when we go to the home page here of my dashboard, you'll see that we have UNO overlays and images folders already created. And once we go inside, here we have those same folders. And inside the tutorial, I have the tutorial composition. And because these are control apps, I can't really modify these, but what I can do is right-click, hit Extract Composition, and then open up that composition. And this is Singular's Composer, which allows you to build graphics from the ground up. And I brought this up because I want you to be aware of the fact that, oh yeah, we have templates, we can customize them here and there. But if you wanted to get really custom, you can build these graphics to fit your exact needs. And to help with that, we recently released a Singular deep dive video on our channel. So if you're interested, you can go check that out. All right, guys, so we've covered most of what UNO overlays offer. Now it's time for you to pick one up, customize, and use in your own projects. You can check out UNO's blog page for some very helpful resources and join their Discord channel to connect with others. Thank you once again for watching. Take care, and we'll see you next time.